Hey guys, Katie here from Equestrian Movement, and this is part 3 of assessing our horse that has the rearing issues. And today we're going to look at some body language cues that might be associated with underlying reasons for rearing and for pain. Quite often when it comes to rearing, a lot of rearing has associations with pain and being pushed through things that feel really uncomfortable to the horse. So we want to be making sure that all of our pain related reasons are ruled out before we start doing behavioral modification training exercises with our horse. So if you watched part 1 and part 2 of this, you will see that we have our holistic horse handling pillars that we work through, and that our friend Dustin doesn't take direction very well, and that we were working on our relaxation. As he started to relax, he would snap himself out of it. And so as he starts to relax more around me, we start to see some more pain that was disguised at the beginning of the session with him because of the tension that he was holding. We have to remember that as flight animals, our horses are very good at making us not be able to see that they are in pain or vulnerable. So if they were in the wild and we were predators that were preying on them, they wouldn't want us to see their vulnerabilities because it would make them easy targets as prey animal. If they were lame, if they were sore, they would be less likely to run, and so that would make us pick them out as the easy target for our dinner. So our horses can hide their pain very well, and it's not until we start putting pressure on them, performance pressure on them, that we see the disguised pain escalate to behavioral issues. And it's in the relaxation process that we start to build that trust and confidence in us, for them to feel safe to be vulnerable around us, that they start to show us these issues that they were hiding from us. So we're starting to see Dustin soften into the work a little bit more, feel a little bit more relaxed, take direction a little bit better, a lot more connection as well, gentle tail swishes, and giving me little cuddles and licks, which gives us the opportunity to kind of dig in a little bit more and see if we can find what issues we're looking at. So if we're going to have rearing problems, we're typically seeing tension in the neck, and it can happen as a result of being held in a frame that's too deep and biomechanically incorrect to the horse. So that little stomp that you saw through the hind leg there was associated to those little bits of tension that you were seeing as I palpated the neck here. So if we have another look, you can see where he shows a really subtle little twitch at the neck and then a stomp at the hind leg. And so that will be neck pain and pain through the lower back there that he's masking when it comes to being ridden. So you'll see like a little twitch there. He's not really willing to give it away just yet, but you can start to notice that there's something going on. He holds a lot more tension, he feels a lot less safe, and then when I take the pressure off, we get that signal of relaxation from him as well. So as he relaxes further, we can start to find where that actually is a cause of concern for him. Like, that's quite a big reaction to pain there. And so that if we have bit pressure on his mouth, that's going to be a lot of head tossing that escalates to rearing. So neck pain is particularly uncomfortable to our horses and does result in big behavioral issues, and does impact how well they can work for us. So we really want to make sure that when we're riding them for postural correctness. You can see with that overdeveloped underneck muscle here where he isn't engaging his top line for his balance, and so any frame that he is working in is going to be a false frame. And we're just going to check over if there's any pain associated with where the saddle sits, like the back, isn't too bad. What we're going to be seeing is that, what happens a lot with these horses that come off the track is, they need to be rehomed, and so they just get put into a frame real quick, and that frame isn't beneficial to the soundness of their body, their musculoskeletal health. So popping them into a false frame where they break away at the neck here and come too deep, the underneck muscle is still switched on, and so it does create a lot of pain because they're not stabilizing their posture anymore. So as we continue to watch this conversation together unravel, we'll start to see how much Dustin relaxes as he feels heard, because he's starting to share with me some of the reasons why he might have those behavioral issues in the first place. So as we continue this conversation, we can start to see where he's been locking down his lower back there. The tail is showing those tight, swishy motions as his lower back starts to release. He's giving me more connection-seeking behaviors here with the mouthiness and the licking. The biting is the mental tension that he's also been holding that he hasn't been willing to share with me. So even though he gives the indication, and here we're seeing another indication that we are potentially looking at ulcers here, how is your horse trying to communicate to you that they have a problem? They can't use their words as much as we would love it if they could. They just can't. And so we've got to try and look for these body cues to help, these body language cues for us to help identify where the potential breakdown is. And we can just assume that a thoroughbred off the track is going to have ulcers that need managing. So as he starts to relax and unwind around me and feel safe to be more vulnerable, we start to see he starts to show us a little bit more where he's having issues, where at the beginning he had quite a bravado face on, in that everything was fine, and so we would only see those problems when they escalated to difficult behaviors. So all of this tension winding starts holding starts to unwind, and we can see where he's feeling more and more safe to be vulnerable around me by going down into having a little lie down. Now, the one thing that happens here that you can't hear in this training is that a motorbike goes past and revs quite loudly, and so he has just given me that space, and we see another little ulcer cue there. He's just given me like, yep, I feel safe with you, I'm going to lie down, I'm going to be vulnerable, and then the motorbike just gives off a huge noise, and so we get a huge, it wasn't very much, a big like jump up there, because the sensory audio of the motorbike going past spooked him. But he's, that's where we now start to see so much more true relaxation through his body. So initially, like, he was showing us, that he did not seem like he was not relaxed, but we can see where the relaxation has just gotten deeper. Like the neck gets longer, the under neck is less tense, the head comes lower, the eye gets softer, the tail is moving more, the nose is moving more. With the heavier breathing, he's taking direction better, he's giving me more connection there with his body language. And so we can see where what appeared to be like a fairly happy and relaxed horse was actually holding a lot of mental tension related to pain and not being hurt that would most definitely escalate to rearing under saddle. So before we even considered hopping on this horse, we would need to get our body worker out and fix up where he's experiencing the neck pain. That neck pain is most often related to bit pressure, so I would be doing a remouthing process with him as well, and treating him for ulcers before I would even consider riding him, to set him up for success so that he doesn't need to feel like he needs to protect himself against me. So one of the big things that I teach my students is that what you release for, you reinforce. So for example, if you're riding a horse that rears and they rear, you get a fright, you hop off, then you're conditioning the horse to rear when they want you to hop off. It's a lot harder to fix it once you have the behavioral problem there, because you have to find a way of not releasing the pressure for the unwanted behavior, which means putting yourself in a dangerous and very vulnerable situation. By the time we get to that point, like, we're looking at having to send our horses out to like a cowboy, a rodeo rider that is just gonna hold on to them while they do it, so that they're not getting a release of pressure for that behavior. And so it becomes a lot harder to fix a problem once the horse has established it as an option to not have to do what we're asking of them, especially if the reason why they don't want to do it is pain related. Then where they are going to escalate to those bigger behaviors because they can't control their behavior, they can't control their emotions because they're in such a escalated state of pain. And so then we're trying to fix pain related behaviors that they are just expressing, and that's where like all the wheels come off. It just becomes a nightmare to deal with. We're just dealing with big behaviors that are the horse is just expressing pain, and any behavior modification that you're doing from that point forward is purely shutting the horse down and hoping that they're not going to do it again. But the pain mounts, and it gets to the point where they can't control themselves anymore. And so what would seem to be, a horse that is well behaved and cooperating, they will just explode out of nowhere because they can't control themselves anymore. So there is one more video in this training session, and it's really just the full circle picture of what it looks like at the end of the training session. And so remembering that all we've done in this training session is we've worked on what does our relaxation cues look like, who are we to the horse that they would want to take direction from us, are they seeking the release of pressure, is the cueing and communication working, and how are they responding to the ask. So relaxation, compassionate leadership, cueing and communication, and then emotional agility, plus incorporating, why is our horse doing it in the first place? Is there an underlying reason for them to escalate this behavior? Is there pain associated with the behavior? Yes, most of the time there is. Our horses don't really love the expenditure of effort. So if they are getting heightened to the point of, rearing and striking and whatnot, we do need to look at why that is in the first place. So thanks for joining me for today's training session. I hope you are getting something out of it. And we've got one more training session where we see what Dustin looks like at the end of the work together. Until next time, happy trails.